Hi everyone, we are going to take a look at some different bar graphs again today, some different graphs. Again, graphs tell us some information. Today we're going to look a little bit deeper at trying to figure out what information it is all trying to tell us. So the very first thing I want you to do is take a look at my graph here. I hope that you can see all the different parts of it. I'll show you real close for a second. But what I want you to do is try and see if you can identify, if you can find out the title of my graph and the labels for my graph as well. So once you think you've found those, just keep it in your head, because I also want you to think about what we might talk about after you find the title and the labels for my graph. So take a look at it here. See if you can find the title. Title should always be on the top. And the labels are on the side and on the bottom. So I hope that you can find the title and labels. My title is Fruit for My Lunch. Fruit for my lunch. So this information in my graph today is going to tell us about some fruit that I could put in my lunch. The title is telling us what we are looking at. And the labels are found on this side here, which is going to tell us how many of each fruit there is. And on the bottom, which is types of fruit, which is going to tell us what types of fruit there are. So the types of fruit I have are grapes, kiwi, and apple. What I'm going to do now is ask you guys some questions, and I want to see if you can try and answer these questions for me. So the very first thing that I want to ask you is this. Which fruit do I have the most of? Which fruit do I have the most of? If you think you can figure out which I have the most of, can you also tell me how many of that fruit I have? How much do I have? Well, we can tell because this bar is taller than any of the other bars, and we could count the pictures. 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 apples. But I could also go to the very top of my bar, look, go across, follow the line across, and find the number for how many I have, which is 3 here. It's important that we learn how to do this, because once you get a little bit older, every single square isn't going to be just 1. It could be 2. It could be counting by 2s, and it could be counting by 5s. So it's important that we learn that we can look across to where it tells us how many of each fruit there are, how many of whatever information is we're looking at in graphs in the future. Now, I have kiwi as well. Can you tell me how much kiwi I have? Take a look at the bar graph. You could count the pictures. You could also, again, look at how many there are and look across. There is just 1 kiwi. Now I have 2 of a type of fruit. Can you tell me how many? I have 2 of a type of fruit. Can you tell me which fruit it is that I have 2 of? 2 of. So for that one, I can look at the number 2 and go across to see which one is touching the number 2 line. Past this one, not going far enough. I'm here for number 2. I have 2 grapes. The next thing that I want you to try and figure out is how many more apples I have than kiwis. How many more apples do I have than kiwis? if this were a word question, using how many more would tell me that I am finding the difference, which is a subtraction question. So what we need to do is look at how many apples I have. Try and see if you can figure out how many apples I have, and compare it to how many kiwis I have. I could just take a look at my different bars and count the difference. So this is one, that's not different, that's the same. I could count that I have 2 more apples than my kiwis. But what I also want to do is use a subtraction sentence to figure it out as well. So when we are subtracting, we always go with the biggest number first. My biggest number is 3, since I have 3 apples. So I could write my subtraction question like this: 3 minus, trying to find the difference, how many kiwis I have. How many kiwis do I have again? Take a look. I have 1. And my equal sign, figuring out the difference, 3 minus 1, I'm sure you know it right away, is 2. So I have 2 more apples than kiwis. What I would like you to do is take out your textbook and open it up to page 297 and 298. On page 297, you will see some lighthouses. So take a look at those lighthouses. Maybe you can shout out for me, how tall is the Green Bay Lighthouse? I need to find the name of the lighthouse, find the Green Bay one, go across so I can find out how tall it is. It is 50 feet tall. Maybe you could tell me how tall the Point Hope Lighthouse is. And the next one I want you to try and figure out is how tall the Red Point Lighthouse is. There are some questions at the bottom of this page that are all going to use this graph to find the information. So I will read the questions for you. I would like you to try and figure it out as much as possible on your own, but if you need some help from an older brother or sister, mom and dad, feel free to get some help from them. It says, how tall is the tallest lighthouse? You are going to write how many feet it is, so find the tallest one up here, write the number down. How tall is the shortest lighthouse? Same thing. Now we have some adding and subtracting questions, which means we're comparing information using this graph. It says, how much taller is the Rocky Shores Lighthouse than the Red Point Lighthouse? So find the Rocky Shores Lighthouse, write the number in your tens and ones little chart here, and then find the height for the Red Point Lighthouse, write that down, do the subtracting, and write the answer on the line. The bottom one is very similar. So if the Green Bay Lighthouse were placed on top of the Red Point Lighthouse, how tall would they be all together? So we're going to kind of like stack lighthouses here. Pretend, of course. Find how tall the Green Bay one is, and then find how tall the Red Point one is, and add them together, write the answer on the line. The next page is also a bar graph, but take a look at what we are looking at instead of lighthouses. You can find it out by looking at the title of the graph. The title is popcorn. Okay? So there are some questions here again about this popcorn. It says Shelly and her friend Tony popped 4 kinds of popcorn. The graph shows how many cups of popped corn they had after popping. Which popcorn had the greatest number of cups? So take a look at the bar graph. Whichever one had the most, write that type down. Which popcorn had the least number of cups? Find which one had the least, write the type down. How many cups of white popcorn were there? Find the white popcorn, see if you can go all the way to the end of the line and down to see how many cups there are. And then you're going to do a little bit of subtracting here too. What is the difference in number between the blue popcorn and the yellow popcorn? You can compare it and then write the answer on the line. That is your work for today.